Hey, welcome back. We are continuing our exploration of how to write custom functions in VBA and Excel. And we've done a number of examples and exercises thus far. And in each case, we wrote functions where you would give an argument, or maybe two or maybe three arguments, and the function returned a value. And one of the really powerful things about writing functions in Excel is it's possible to write functions where one of your input arguments is a range, and you can then iterate over that range, do a series of calculations, and return a value. And so that's kind of a special kind of function. I just wanted to make sure you know how to do that. And so we have this kind of trivial little exercise here. We have a table of numbers, and we want to write a custom function called numneg, N-U-M-N-E-G, that takes a range of cells as an argument, and it loops through that range of cells, and it counts how many of those numbers in the range are negative, and returns that count as a value. And we're going to test it using these cells in row 24. And so let's jump right over here. Open up our module. As you should remember by now, you should always put your functions in a module, never in a sheet. And we'll start out with option explicit, and function numneg, and let's say r as range, and it returns an integer. So the input argument we're going to call r. We can call it anything we want, just whatever makes it easy to remember. And now the way when you get a range as an input to your function, you have to have a way to iterate progressively and loop over all of the items in the range. And to do that, we are going to use a for each statement. The for each loop is the best way and simplest way to loop over all of the objects in a collection. And a range is a collection of range objects. And so to do that, we need some variables here. We need a looping variable. I'm going to call it myCell as range. And then we need another looping variable, or excuse, another variable. Nope, that should be all we need. So now we're going to say for each myCell in R, we're going to loop over the R, and we're going to say no, and we need an if statement in here. If myCell.value is less than 0, then numneg equals numneg plus 1. And if next myCell. And that should do it. So remember, with a for each loop, each time we iterate through the loop, the looping variable myCell becomes an alias for the current object that we're visiting as we iterate through the objects in the collection. So the first time through the loop, myCell will be kind of like a variable representing the first cell. And so if we do myCell.value, if that's less than 0, we found a negative number. We increment our counter. We're just going to use the name of the function to accumulate those values, and then we'll go on to the next cell. And by the time we get to the end, we should have counted all of the negative values in that range. So again, the key point here is we declare the input argument as a range object, and it's pretty important you define the type there for this to work seamlessly. And then you just use a for each loop to iterate over it, do your calculations, and should work. So let's give this a shot. Save our changes here. We'll say equals numneg, and we'll pass to that this column of cells, B4 to B22, and there we go, 2. And it seems to be working correctly. If you scan through there, it should work. We can check that easily with an Excel function. We can do COUNTIF, and give it a range of cells, and then a criteria would be less than 0 in double quotes. And that seems to confirm our answers. So we have the right answers. Now another cool thing about, I'm going to delete that for a second, but the range can be any shape. So if I wanted to count the number of negative values in this entire table, I could say numneg, go like that, and 28, which should be, yeah, it looks like that's right. And so again, really simple. You can pass a range to a custom function, and then you just loop through it using a for each loop, and you can now create some really fun functions that operate on ranges using custom functions in Excel VBA.